Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, at the Cusp of Freedom, where we give you a perspective on the variety of things you can do to become a digital nomad. Hence, today I have a special guest. Her name is Bianca, and she is a digital nomad, but I will let her introduce herself.
Okay, thank you. Hi, I'm Bianca, and I'm from New York City. My family's from Nigeria, and I've been traveling since my first job out of college. Like, as soon as I learned, like certain women, especially like older women, were solo traveling at the time. This was like back in like 2017. I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it like a try. I was so nervous, but I'm glad I did because it inspired me to like live outside of the country for a little bit and just to try that.
Interesting. I feel like before COVID, not many people were exposed to the digital nomad lifestyle. So I guess like what triggered you to take that step to embrace that lifestyle when you were out of college? Was it the fact that you got a job that was remote?
No, sorry. It was the fact that I had a job, so it was like my first time making money, and I've always wanted to like travel because I travel like within the U.S. and it was like heartbreak. So I wanted like space. I don't know. I just wanted something different. I wanted like a different type of like energy.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just gonna do this.
Interesting. Do you think that traveling, or what's the difference between traveling like remotely within the U.S. and outside the U.S.? Do you think there's a big difference with regards to like how much perspective you gain?
Perspective, no, because the U.S. is very diverse, but I think the major differences are just like how money works, because that changes, languages changes, currency changes, and laws change. Well, laws change by state too, so but it's really currency and language changes. That's the difference. Yeah. The culture is within, so within the U.S. there is culture change too.
True.
So yeah, the main thing is really like currency and laws and stuff.
Okay. So what do you do as a digital nomad?
I'm a program manager.
All
So
right.
I work remote, and it's so funny. I came here unemployed actually. I was a teacher, but I wasn't really satisfied, and I decided that like I really wanted it. But it was like it's kind of hard when like so many people are getting laid off, and so many people are like, no, we're going back to like in person. We don't want to do remote anymore. So it's like I'm a very spiritual person, so I felt like if I didn't force myself to like really want it, I'd be so comfortable teaching because I really enjoy teaching. Like I love kids and stuff like that. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna quit my job, live off my savings, and like apply, and just focus my energy, and this is all I want. And I got it.
And you got it. Nice. Like, the universe gives you what you knock for, so that's what's up. You mentioned that you have a passion for teaching. When you were a kid, did you want to become a teacher when you grew up, or what did you want to become?
I didn't really know. See, I'm Nigerian, so I was very creative. I was very creative, but I'm from like a working class immigrant family, so it's hard for people in that socioeconomic class to invest in the creativity of their children. So it was more like you talk a lot, you like social studies, you're gonna be a lawyer. So that's what I thought I wanted to be until like my junior year of college, like in the middle of like taking law classes and stuff. And I finished like my pre-law minor, but at the end of it I realized like that's not for me.
Interesting. So when you were in college so your college basically major was influenced by your parents in a good sense?
Yes and no. So they were right. Like I love talking, I love social studies, I love politics. And they were like, okay, since you love it so much, be a lawyer. Right. So I was already gonna major in politics as well. The minor in pre-law was because of them, but there was more like a minor, so it wasn't like a direct like impact on like my main what I really wanted to like study.
Yeah, if you can reflect now, given that you're doing something completely different than what you majored in, do you think that your college experience was worth it? Like, would you have become a program manager without going to college?
No, so not unrelated though. Politics is not, majoring in politics is not really about I want to become a politician. It's learning about management, leadership, and governance, and I'm a manager, so.
There you go, guys. You can become a program manager by majoring in politics.
Yeah.
So throughout college, how hard was it to be a politics major? Like, what was the hardest part about like how I don't know, was your major hard? What was the hardest part about like the whole college process?
The hardest part of my major was when I had to take gen eds outside of my major. I loved my major. It was so fun. My professors were amazing. But like having to take computer science when like I'm a millennial, so I know basic stuff that it's already programmed, but having to learn the program is so much for me. And like science, I love basic science that helps with my political theories, but I don't want to do physics.
Right.
So all those classes were annoying, and that was kind of those were the classes where I struggled in with like grades and stuff. Versus like politics, like in my major, I was like a 3.8 versus like yeah.
So for someone that would want to take your route to become a program manager by pursuing politics, or just to learn how to govern people by pursuing politics, you would say that they need to have the characteristics that allows them to be open to talking to people. You said like your parents said you're good at talking, and what else?
And arguing.
And arguing. So I think reflecting on your character and your personality and tying that up with something that can like a real world application that can actually provide income, I think is really good. But why do you think so many people have a hard time figuring out the path that's right for them? Do you think it's identifying like what they're good at, or?
I think it's identifying what they're good at, and I'm very rebellious. So I'm the firstborn of like, working class women from Nigeria. So but like when I was younger, I lived away from my family in Nigeria, so I was one of the kids that got sent back. So I just learned independence, and I learned that sometimes my parents are not always right. So it was very easy to be like, yeah, I hear you, but this is what I want though. So,
I see.
yeah, like I'm doing, because I decided to choose my destiny, I'm traveling the world in the ways that my parents couldn't, so sometimes you have to have audacity. I always tell like people when they're nervous, like sometimes you need a little bit of audacity to really like focus on your dreams and put yourself out there.
Yeah, put yourself first or something. I agree. I totally agree. So let's talk a little bit about your travel experience to Africa. You said you lived away from your parents for a while. I'm guessing in like your teenage years.
Yeah.
So what was that experience like? Do you think that where you are today has something to do with that experience? Like, do you think that you gained some kind of skills or perspective being away from your parents during that time that allowed you to be more resilient or whatnot? Or do you feel like it didn't really have that much of an impact?
It's two sides. So I would say the positive things are more of a silver lining of something I wouldn't do with my children.
Okay. What is that? Elaborate on that one.
I would not live in another country from like my young children at all. Like teenage years, I started living in Nigeria like at 4. So that wasn't really helping. Not everybody has invested in, like in West Africa, sometimes there's jealousy and all this stuff, and people are not always going to treat your children as good as you think they would, and you're not there to protect them and defend them and all that. So I would never do that. Silver lining, I got to interact with my culture. I got to learn how to be a Nigerian woman in the sense of like, just learning all the things like cooking all my favorite foods that I enjoy, being part of like history when it comes to like Afro beats and being part of like the beginning and living there throughout that whole experience. So it's like, and education-wise, so the education system is way more, I would say, slightly more advanced in the U.S. where we're taught real life. We had agricultural science, home economics, business. Like.
I think those kind of escaped the United States because it's more advanced and I don't know. But I get what you mean though. You get like the practical skills.
Yeah. So that was nice because now I get to travel the world, and it's easy for me to blend into other countries because I lived in, let's say, like third world country kind of thing. So it's easy to like adapt. Like here, it takes a minute, like because of my little Spanish. Before it's like when they want deep conversation, I'm like, oh no, I don't know. And they're like, wait, you're not Colombian? Like, no.
Hey, but you mentioned adaptability. Do you feel like adaptability? I feel like adaptability is a big one. Like I think most people aren't able to adapt to various environments, and so for those of us that are digital nomads, I realize that we tend to be more adaptable to our environments, and I think being adaptable kind of like mitigates the risks that most people kind of see as like risk. But yeah, let's fast forward after college. What does your scenario look like after college? Are you looking for a job, or are you planning on like saving up to travel? Like what is your mindset after college?
My mindset after college is just get a job. It took me like 9 months to like finally break into like the workforce and like as a college graduate, and
that's a long time.
It is, and I think because I'm spoiled, I want what I want, you know, kind of thing, and I did get a really great job.
Were you like rejecting offers or something?
No, I only was applying to what I wanted. And those jobs, everybody wants those jobs.
Yeah,
Everybody wants an
but
easier life.
But it's good to be picky, though.
Yeah. So it took me a long time, but I had the safety net to be that picky.
Okay.
You know, so I had family and friends that were basically taking care of me.
Okay.
So
you were blessed.
yeah, it's definitely fortunate to be that picky. And then when I got my first job, I just adulted, you know, got my first apartment, furnished it, got comfortable, paid back any money that I had borrowed, I paid it back, all of that. And then like once I was like financially like comfortable and like set. Okay, now I'm bored, so what should I do?
Okay, so would you say that one of the hardest part about going into college as a politicals or politics major is getting a job after college? Because I think like that 9 months that you said you had to like, you know, endure and before you got a job. For a lot of people that's a long time, right? And most people don't have like the cushion you had with your family. So what would you say to someone that wants to be like you and wants to major in politics to become a program manager or whatnot? And they're like, what would you say for them to be better prepared after college so that they can just have a job right away? Like, what did you learn through that process that could, like, you know, shorten the time for someone else?
Don't be like me. Do like internships. So I did an internship, but it was the one I created for myself.
Interesting. You can,
Oh yeah, it's not that. That's funny. You know, Nigerians are not finesse. It's a long story about finessing, but but like yeah, definitely intern more, especially if you want to get into like actual politics. Intern a lot, and also start working. Like you could just start like I feel like that's for like many various different majors, especially like the social sciences. You kind of just have to take the job. I just was lucky to be picky, but if I wasn't lucky, I would have had to start working at whatever was first available until I got what I needed.
But do you think there's benefits to being picky?
If you have the opportunity to, yeah.
So now that you got your job 9 months later, and you're settled in your finances. Oh, we didn't even speak about finances. How was your Because I know a lot of people go to college and get in debt. So how did you mitigate that? Like, did you go to college knowing that you could avoid that in a sense, or did you like not care, just like whatever?
It was neither. I didn't know what I was doing. Like most of us were like. That's the whole controversy behind the student loans. Is like most of us were sold whatever we were sold at 17. You know, in a country that doesn't teach you anything about financial literacy prior to that age.
Yeah.
Take loans and do all this stuff. So I was caught in a trap, and I kind of just ignored it until I couldn't ignore it anymore, and now I'm on a payment plan. So.
Okay. So if you could go back, could you do something better regarding that, or?
No, I think it's just unfair practice because it's like, if I go back, that means like I saw an opportunity and didn't take it. I didn't see an opportunity. You know, I just simply had no understanding. My immigrant parents had no understanding, so that was it. Like, yeah, so it's not a particular situation where it's like about regret. It's more of a, I really don't like how you played us.
I'm weak. But you know, I to be fair, I think that although chances are more slim with this like perspective, I think that I've met a few people that were lucky enough to get full rides or find ways to get scholarships, and ultimately I think that's like besides like not going to college at all, I feel like that's like the only route you can possibly take to mitigate that risk of student loans. But yeah, fast forward once you're settled in, or you got like, your life straight, and you're ready to become a digital nomad. Do you like start traveling in the U.S. first, or do you?
I was ready to go. By that time, I had already been like, so college I already explored.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay,
so
okay.
you know, like I was picky about a lot of things. And so when you date certain men, it gives you access.
Yeah.
So it's like you date a guy that likes traveling and drives everywhere. So I got to see like,
road trips. Okay.
Yeah, so I've been
Nice.
to like 26 states by then.
Oh wow.
So the U.S. wasn't really like, yeah, and I didn't really know how to drive. So you think I was single at that time. I didn't know how to drive, so I was like, flight.
I feel you.
So like, the U.S. is not gonna work.
Wait, you lived in New York though, right? Maybe that's why you didn't know how to drive?
Of course, yeah. I didn't get my license until like 2 months before I turned 28.
Wow. I guess living in New York does that to you.
Yeah.
I'm from Virginia. People usually get their license by like 16. this poor mental system. But yeah, so you decide to travel. How do you what is the first thing that you think about? Like where you gonna go? Like how do you set yourself up? Like how do you plan your travel? Like did you say I'm gonna travel for a year? I'm gonna travel for 3 months? How did you pick where to go?
This is my first remote job. This is like me officially being a digital nomad.
Yeah.
So that prior to this was like more like solo traveling.
Okay.
So I had a 9-month contract. So there was at least 1.5 months that I was free to do whatever I wanted.
Okay.
So I traveled during that time.
Yeah.
And so the first thing I did, I think I heard about Costa Rica so many times, like it was just in my head, and I was like, Costa Rica.
Okay.
And I wanted to do it on my own. Like I hit up friends, and like all of us just graduated from college, so it was hard for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, so that wasn't really easy to mitigate like a group trip at that time. So I kind of did some research, and I don't know, like looking back at it, I think I did a bunch of safety things. Like I went to the U.S. government website, checked how safe the country was, registered for this, made sure I was in the system and all of this, and then I searched as much information as I could tell about Costa Rica and wanting to know how to get particularly. Like I did all the research I could possibly do so I could feel safe, and I still never saw. And I applied for my passport. I didn't have a passport at the time. Mine had expired a long time ago, so I applied for a passport, and I was like, but it was too close to when I actually wanted to leave, and I was like, okay, if it doesn't come in time.
Did you like book your flight already, or?
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
I guess you can't without a passport, but
So I was just like, this is the time like I had to, because I only had like a set time to go, like to come back to work.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, if my passport is approved on time, that means I'm meant to go. And if it's not,
okay.
it usually takes 4 to 6 weeks. Mine took 2 weeks.
Nah, you meant to go. So how was Costa Rica? Was that your first solo trip outside the US? Yeah, how did that change your perspective?
I was the travel bug. Like I got bit by it so bad. Like I got bit by it. I did not want to stop, and so I was in the mountains, and I experienced just like a different culture and language. And like people are so friendly, and like even though like now my Spanish is a lot better, but I knew like 2 words, at least what I can remember from school. And people would still try their best to talk to me and have conversations and make sure that I was good.
Yeah.
And like it didn't matter the part, because Costa Rica is pretty segregated, really, like between Afro Costa Ricans and like Black Costa Ricans. Yeah, they do have like there's like a mountain between them too. It's pretty interesting. But I didn't notice that when I was on the other side of the mountain until I got to like the black side.
Okay, you're like,
yeah,
oh,
because
okay.
people were so kind, so I didn't notice. Like I just thought they didn't have black people. So when I got to Limon, which is I chose the Atlantic over the Pacific. And it was I felt like home.
Interesting.
It was such a beautiful, like, spiritual experience. And while I did it, I realized, like, I can meet people and interact with so many different people pretty easily.
Yeah.
And people are very kind. People are way more kind than they are dangerous.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what I immediately learned.
Does that like kind of make you feel like all the prejudice or the narrative for developing countries is dangerous? It's kind of like in the air.
Yeah. Like certain countries, it's pretty obvious, while other countries it's just a bunch of stereotypes. Like there's danger in every country.
Yeah.
You know, certain countries you shouldn't travel because of like political relations with your like the country like you're holding a passport for and stuff.
Yeah.
But most of the time, no, it's just stereotypes. It's like Colombia. Like everyone's like, what about the cartels and all this? And it's like, yeah, but what about the U.S.? Like, it was the U.S. that funded the cartels. They grew because of what the U.S. needed to fund them.
You know, I low-key feel more safe here than I do in the U.S.
I feel way safer in Medellin than I ever did living all my life in New York.
That's crazy. Interesting. Okay, so now that we've discussed why and how you became who you are as a program manager, let's talk a little bit about what you do as a program manager for playing devil advocate for a 5-year-old watching that doesn't know what a program manager is. So yeah, what do you do as a program manager on your day-to-day?
Okay, so right now I work for a business consulting firm in New York City, and they have like programs and projects to help leaders be better leaders. So it's
Okay.
all C-suites from various different like companies and corporations. We're talking like billion-dollar corporations and stuff like that. But
Okay.
like finding programs to make them better leaders. That's really the point of it. And I manage the programs.
Oh,
So
wow.
we have like dialogues and roundtables and scheduling, emailing, organizing, like all of that.
Oh, I see. Wow, it's interesting. No matter how much of a leader you can become, you can always be a better leader. So these leaders that are like working for these high corporations are still looking to become better leaders?
Yeah.
Wow.
And they're
That's
paying,
interesting.
and they pay pretty well for it, so it's very nice.
It's pretty
Yeah,
interesting.
like it's important for them.
Do you see yourself pursuing this career path for the next decade, or for the next, I don't know, for the rest of your life, or where do you see your trajectory heading?
I used to have that answer when I was younger. It used to be so easy. Now, I'm in a different space in my head where I only see myself living a good life, and I'm just gonna keep doing that.
Okay.
I don't really if program management gives me, because right now I have everything with the job. I really do enjoy the job.
Yeah.
I have the best hours. I get to work remote.
Yeah.
Living in like all.
You get everything, yeah?
Yeah, you know. So if something comes better, I'll take it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very like. That's the beautiful thing about politics. It's a major that like is very open because, like, it's politics and philosophy. Like philosophy might be a little harder, but politics and philosophy is like what school is.
Yeah.
You know, a PhD in this is a philosophy and what you know. So it's like that's when you major in one of those two things, you're kind of open to anything. You can choose a particular path, but you're one of like me. I'm a jack of like many trades. You know, I'm not really perfect at one thing. I think that whatever makes me happy and I enjoy and I'm making a good living, I'm just gonna keep doing it.
Renaissance. So, do you feel like most people should know a little bit of politics and philosophy, or at least dabble in it?
Well, philosophy. If you're in school, you're in philosophy, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing about like philosophy in general. It's way too broad.
Right.
Politics is a little more narrow, as of course it's a school of thought in philosophy, but it helps knowing about how things operate, how humans make decisions, and how things like operate outside of like scientific knowledge. So governance is something that has always been a part of like, as soon as there was more than two human beings, government became a thing. You know, so like I think it's important to like if you're in college, take an intro to politics class really quickly. You know, find one. You could always take like an elective outside of your major, like an upper division elective outside of your major. Explore politics class because you really learn a lot about like your society.
And the way human behavior, I guess, human nature. All right. So, what would you say is the hardest part about your job as a program manager?
It's my first time being a program manager. I was in education for 10 years.
Oh wow. Okay.
So even my first job out of college, it was still like I was a program coordinator, but it was at a university.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the hardest thing, I guess. So now I want to volunteer because I'm missing this particular aspect where I feel like I'm fully giving back to the community.
Yeah.
All in one. Like
Absolutely.
yeah, I enjoyed being a teacher because it's like I get paid, I
That's
give back to
fulfilling.
you get all of it all in one and
I
it's
see.
like, you just go home. With program management, I have a more comfortable lifestyle, but I do like I started like messaging orphanages and like middle school and stuff to see if I could volunteer because there's just something I guess just how I am. That's what I would say is the hardest part.
Aww.
Not feeling directly because I mean making a leader a better leader is still a great thing, but it's something different with helping children less privileged.
Absolutely. You want to have direct impact. Makes a lot of sense. I definitely feel that way too. But yeah, now that we've discussed why and how you became who you are as a digital nomad or a program manager, let's dabble a little bit about philosophy or and how it is to become how it is being a digital nomad. So as a digital nomad, how do you manage your time between experiencing new things, meeting people, having a job, and pursuing things that you wanna pursue to feel more fulfilled, like helping orphanages and stuff. So how do you manage that conglomerate of time?
I'm still learning. I have this job for 5 months now. It's going on to 5 months. So I'm still learning because I haven't. The last time I was on vacation was before I started. Like I haven't really been able to go outside of Jersey. I've really been able to manage like the kind of the similar lifestyle I had in New York, but you know I'm meeting new people because they're travelers. So I haven't really been able to figure out how to travel more with work. So I'm grateful that Medellin is such the city that it is. 'Cause at least I'm still getting like
Everything.
yeah, I'm still getting such a great experience. And yeah, so my main concern is adding more like volume to it. So once I figure it out, I'll let you know.
Alright, quick question before we dive into philosophy. Do you think that if more people okay. No, let's step back. What do you think would be the effect of more people becoming digital nomad? Do you think it would have like a more of a positive effect or more of a negative effect? So right now, less than 35 million people out of 8 billion people are digital nomads. What would you say? What would you think would happen if like 200 million people became digital nomads, for example?
I think my distrust for governments of the world to be able to manage our economy and our society better is the main concern.
Yeah.
So the thing about digital nomad is that it creates freedom.
Yeah.
But these jobs that cannot be digital nomad jobs are so important. So if you have a group of people that get this privilege to like be a digital nomad and the government is not mitigating raising wages better, curbing inflation, we're gonna create like anger and jealousy with those people to where people are just now we lose important jobs that people intentionally just leave like important jobs. Like I left being a teacher because it wasn't enough like benefits and care for children or teachers. So I was like, this is fun, but this is not.
But regarding benefits and care though, don't you think that working remote, as an English teacher, for example, you don't need as much like benefit and care, you just like your good money and
That's the thing, because like all you're doing is teaching English. But like when school systems need more than a teacher that's just teaching English.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm worried about. So it's nice, like, because I kind of got into that trap. That's why I'm here now. So I'm a program manager. Because it's like, I'm over here working my ass off. I'm tired. I don't have, like, I'm still struggling with bills. I can't pay this and, like, stuff like that. And then the girlies are like, oh, I got a certification and now I'm a software engineer and program manager. I'm really good. I'm like, okay. All right. You got me. Because I don't like suffering. I don't know. Like, so, yeah. So I'm like, so that's what I'm worried about. Like, our government's not being able to properly appreciate these jobs and our society not being able to appreciate these jobs. So that I don't know, that sounds like an economic problem on the rise. Not because there's something wrong with being a digital nomad and wanting to be free, but because the people who cannot be those like digital nomads, those jobs are still important and we don't want them to leave those jobs. We want them to have better vacation time, better benefits.
I see what you mean. That's a good perspective. Let me say a lot of risk. I was talking to a friend the other day, and she was basically like, when more foreigners come, and buy real estate, for example, the price of housing might be out of range for those that are local. So that could be a big bad benefit.
But that's not the traveler's fault though. So like for me that
the government fault.
It's between the government not you see so many people coming into your country. Don't just give us a digital nomad visa. Like make sure that your people are benefiting and protected.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Human beings are always gonna move for a better life.
Yeah.
So like New York City is expensive, the US is expensive, we're gonna move
out.
Yeah, we're gonna move out. We come here and the landlords are like, oh, you have a little extra money, and they start raising the prices. You're hurting your locals that don't have the opportunity to necessarily just move out. And after a while, the Americans will be like, too expensive, move out, So it's like, there has to be better regulation. I moved to Colombia to pay what the locals are paying in rent. I did not move to Colombia. Yeah, to be to somebody to be like, oh, it's actually $700, but since you could afford $1,000, I'm gonna charge, So like, that the government has to regulate the land. Governments in New York City don't want to regulate housing. You know, government's ministry don't want to regulate housing. That's not the travelers' fault. People are going to move for a better life, and they have the right to move. So
it's poor leadership at the end of the day. They need your firm's consultation to be better leaders.
right.
Honestly. But wow, that's tough. Well, now that we've discussed why and how you became a program manager and a digital nomad, and some of the challenges associated with that, let's speak a little bit on your life philosophy. Do you have anything you live by? Like, do you have any life philosophy that keeps you going?
I'm not necessarily Christian anymore. I'm more like Afro-pagan. But I think like
What's Afro-pagan?
it's like African religions and
Okay.
just getting into the culture of what we had prior to colonial invasion.
Okay.
And so what I would say exploring now, because that's not easy to explore with all the deleting and burning and all that. So it's not really an easy religion or religious sect to really explore.
Yeah.
But I will say one thing that's universal between like growing up Christian and moving back towards like what people have, if you ask, you can get it.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. If you knock on that door enough times, it's gonna open. That's tough.
Like,
That's
if
tough.
you really, really want it, you can get it. And that's it.
I think that's fair. I think you should. Yeah. Well, hey, it's been a pleasure having you on this podcast, Bianca, and I'm so happy that you shared your perspective here with everyone that's going to be tuning in, and hopefully we meet again more. So thank you for being on the podcast. It was fun. Just turn this off real quick.